Hi guys, can you hear me okay?
Hi, Rob. Yes, we can hear you.
Great. How are you today, Ernesto?
Good, good. How about yourself? How hot is it over there in King City?
It's cooler today and the wind is up, so that means it'll cool down tonight. But it's still in the low 90s probably.
Ouch.
I'm sure it's hotter here than it is there.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
But it is that time of year, so it's as to be expected.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob.
Hey Patrick, how are you today?
Oh, not too bad. How about you?
Good, good. Hey, you had a hot day at your house yesterday, didn't you? Was it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I was watching the weather forecast. I was a little bit surprised it had gotten so hot in that area.
Yeah, it took me 2 hours to get the house cooled down because no one owns air conditioners.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a warm day. Hey, have you gotten anything from Ray about are we meeting tomorrow or?
Good question. I have not, but I assume we are. I will send him an email here shortly and ask.
Okay.
In fact, I'll send it right now. And for anyone who is listening in on the live stream here, we'll get started in a couple minutes, promptly at 4 o'clock. My name is Robert Cullen. I'm the board president. And if anyone does have a comment that they'd like to provide for either public comment or comment on any of the agenda items, please send an email to comment@svswa.org. And again, that's comment@svswa.org. And we will get started promptly at 4 o'clock, assuming we have a quorum. Looks like I'm the only board member on right now.
They still have 2 minutes, Rob.
Oh, hey, I like to be early. Well, I have to be early to get on and make sure everything works. So it is 4 o'clock by my watch here, but it looks like we do not have the Vice President De La Rosa or alternate Vice President Chris Lopez on the line. So we will wait until they join us.
And we have Chris Lopez now on.
Oh, great. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at 4:01. We'll have the records indicate that myself, Rob Cullen, and alternate Vice President Chris Lopez are both on the call, and that is a quorum, and hopefully Vice President De La Rosa will join us in a minute here. So,
Mr. President, can I ask a quick question?
yes, please.
Did Ms. De La Rosa reach out to staff? I know I had a call with her earlier today around, I don't know, 1:30, 1:45, and she mentioned that she didn't have the call-in info for this meeting. I encouraged her to reach out to staff to get that info. I just want to make sure she did.
She did, and the
Okay.
information was provided to her.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. And so hopefully she'll join us. But what I'll do right now is I'll take a minute then for anyone who's streaming this to make note that if in order to make it either a general public comment or to comment on a specific agenda item as it is being heard, please submit your comment to the clerk of the board by emailing comment@svswa.org. Every effort will be made to read your comment into the record, but some comments may not be read due to time limitations. Comments received after an agenda item will be made part of the record if received prior to the end of the meeting. And on that note, then the first agenda item is the general manager comment, please.
I have no comments outside the agenda items today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any department managers with comments? Okay.
Rob, this is Mandy. I have a comment.
Okay, yes, please.
I just wanted to update the executive committee that we put in for a award application for Jesse Sanchez School for their new food waste program that we were integral in helping them implement. This was all right before COVID-19 happened. And we submitted an application to the California Resource Recovery Association, and they were selected for a Outstanding School Recycling Program Award. And we sent out a press release yesterday or 2 days ago. Hopefully you all saw that. But it's very exciting, first school in the Salinas Valley to be recognized and also to have implemented a complete comprehensive food waste program. So we will be coming back in August or September, probably to the full board and make a presentation once the award is actually received in August by the school.
Okay, very good. Thank you for that. And I did see that press release. Very, very cool.
Good.
Okay, any other department managers with comments? All right, hearing none, we'll go to committee member comments. And Chris, do you have anything for us?
No member comments. Thank you.
Okay. I see that Gloria has not joined still, and my comments all relate to items on the agenda, so I will go ahead and wait until those items appear. Public comment again for the public. If you would like to submit a comment, please do so by emailing comment@svswa.org. And have we had any public comments come in?
No public comment.
Okay. I will go to the first item on the agenda then, item number 1, which is minutes of the May 7th, 2020 meeting. Is there anything on the minutes, Chris, that you need to correct or make comment on?
No questions on the minutes. I'm good with them.
Okay. Good. All right. And then any public comment come in on the minutes? Has any public comment come in on minutes?
Sorry, no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Chris, can I get a motion to approve, please?
So moved.
And I'll second that. All in favor? Chris, just go ahead and say aye.
Aye.
I'll say aye. There we go. Motion carries. And we will go down to item number 2, which is the April 2020 claims and financial reports. And I'll hand it over to Ray, please. And you're on mute, Ray, if you're talking.
Thank you, because I was talking.
There we go.
At the end of April, we were about 100,000 ahead of last year, year to date. I'm actually, Ernesto and his staff are still working on the close. We changed over banks, so we're waiting for bank statements to reconcile, but it looks like we've actually made our budgeted revenue at the end of May. So as I mentioned before, we had such a good head start that we were in excellent shape. Expenditures are all in line. Unless there's any specific questions.
I don't have any questions. Chris, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. Has any public comment come in on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, and the recommended committee action is to forward to the board and recommend approval. Chris, can I get a motion, please?
So moved.
And I will second, and motion carries. Aye. Thank you. Figured if you're gonna first it and I'm gonna second it, that'd be quite odd if one of us voted no. All right, we'll go to item number 3, a resolution approving supplemental appropriation of $21,720 for Cal Recycle's beverage container recycling city/county payment program for 2019-2020. And again, we'll hear from Ray, please.
That is a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes.
This is an annual grant that we received from the California Beverage Container Program. We keep track of it based on expenditures for each city. So we do manage the funds for Gonzales, Soledad, Greenfield, and King City. The total is $21,720. We get the money ahead of time, And if we don't spend the money in time, we have to return it, but that has yet to happen. So we used to manage the city of Salinas, but they decided they want to manage their own. But that's my report, unless there's any questions.
So this appropriation, so it says this funding is provided in advance to be expended between April 8th and 2020 and March 1st, 2022. I was
Correct.
just, you know, this wacky world that we live in, and we know that alcohol consumption is going up, so you kind of wonder if there's going to be more beer cans being sent in, but then at the same time you have restaurants and such that are closed or slowly reopening. This is one of the many data points that will be interesting to see what, if any, impact we have or we experience on the revenue from this program.
I mean, at some point in time, we have to stop drinking, right? I mean, even if we're stuck at home.
Dang it, Ray! That sounds like a challenge. Now I want to keep going.
I'm a weekend. Let's see.
Well, Rob, this is Patrick. Yeah, these are, what these are is the unclaimed funds. So
that's
everybody
right, yeah.
gets their 5 cents, and at the end of the year, the state reconciles, and not everybody gets their 5 cents. So some of that, some of those cans and bottles, or the revenue from those cans and bottles gets redistributed back out to all the jurisdictions in the state of California. So
and actually, by the way, that's an interesting point, because let me see if then what you just said jives with the kind of logic that I'm about to say. So I know I know that there's been some recycling places that closed for a little bit of time, the places where you can turn stuff in and get money. And so some of them closed for a little bit of time. So if instead someone put it into curbside recycling and therefore they didn't get money, is that the type of, when you say unclaimed, is it that
Yes.
closed like that, that's unclaimed?
It is and it isn't. So for the materials that go into curbside recycling, that money actually goes to the MRF. So the district, as an example, they get I think a little over $3 million. In fact, they get more money from the state than they do from buying, from the sales to the market. So they get both the market value and they get the redemption value. And that number is based on I believe, a waste composition study where they actually do sampling of the incoming mixed curbside and determine what percentage of it is redemption value material. And so based on their total tonnage and that study, they back in and say, okay, you received so many tons of glass and aluminum and plastic bottles that are subject to redemption value, and that's the basis for the state's payment. So that is factored into the redistribution of that money, not only to the individuals who redeem it, but also the recycling centers that get that in their curbside. So this is everything else that's left.
Yeah, and the other piece of that is there is minimum funding for this, and 3 of our cities have never been above the minimum funding. So I'm not sure exactly how the allocation works, but yeah, we could see a small bump from Soledad, but it's doubtful that the other 3 cities would receive more than the $5,000 minimum funding that we currently got.
I believe it's population based, but Mandy can correct me. I think it's, if you're under 25,000, you get a minimum 5, and I think Soledad gets just a little bit more because they're over 25.
This is Mandy. So yes, it is population based, but back to your point, Rob, all the buyback centers have been closed since COVID. So I had recently come across an article saying because people are not able to, either they were hoarding or keeping the bottles and cans and waiting for the centers to open, or people were tossing it hopefully into their curbside carts. So at least it was getting recycled, or possibly throwing it away. So if that happens, then it would be interesting to see next year if the funds, there's actually more funds because people weren't able to redeem that money back. So next year should be interesting just to see if there is a slight bump for any of the jurisdictions.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for all that clarification. I do see now that
Yeah.
Vice President Gloria has joined us. Thank you for joining us, Gloria. We're on item number 3 on the agenda
Okay.
now, item number 3, and we are on for board discussion. I'll go to Chris first. Do you have any discussion on
Okay.
this item, Chris?
No, no discussion on this item.
Okay. Gloria, any discussion on this item?
No.
Has any
Thank you.
public comment come in on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, the recommended committee action is to forward to the board and recommend approval, and I'll entertain a motion.
Lopez
moved.
moves.
Okay, we have a first by Gloria, second by Chris, and oh, I should probably go back to doing a roll call vote just to make it a little bit easier for the, so if we could do a
Okay.
roll call vote, please, I'd appreciate that.
Alternate Vice President De La Rosa? I'm sorry, Alternate Vice President Lopez
Yes.
and Vice
Okay.
President De La Rosa
Yes.
and President Cullen.
Yes, motion carries, and we'll go to
Okay.
item number 4, which is an update on the Sun Street Transfer Station relocation project. And I will turn it over to Patrick, please.
All right. Can you go to the next slide, please, Ernesto? Thank you. So this is a very brief presentation. I'll give you a little quick update. So we have been, obviously, and Rob will talk a little bit more about it, and I on the next item, but been having discussions with both the mayor and Ray Corpus on moving the project forward. And I've been having some initial conversations with some county folks about it. But the outline here is really sort of one, the stakeholders that need to be at the table now for us to be able to begin moving this forward, and what their basic roles are at the beginning of the project. So going through this, obviously our agency is the project proponent. We will be the lead on the CEQA work that will be required. And I'm categorizing what we're doing with Republic because this is really something a little different for Republic. This is not a contract service. This is a business relationship. And they've been very clear with us that because of that, we'll take them a little bit of time to work through their own internal logistics. As a large company, it's a very big ladder to run things up and down when they need to get approvals or authorizations to move through the various steps that we've already talked about. So this is a business relationship, a partnership with Republic. And of course, our goal and role is to continue to provide the public services and meet the regulatory compliance for programs. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about the Rossi Road extension. As originally proposed by the city back in 2015, the Rossi Road extension project would be a collaborative project, both in its initial design, but primarily in its funding and understanding. So we would be a co-funder of that project. Republic Services, again, would be our business partner in this project. They own Madison Lane Transfer Station and the Corporation Yard at this time, and they are the service, franchise service, recycling, and refuse provider for the city of Salinas. So they're integrated into this as a key stakeholder for the authority and our member agencies. The city of Salinas, what we've asked of the mayor and their staff is that they be the facilitator to support relocation of Sun Street to further their LSL marketplace development plans for this area. And again, they would also be a co-funder and a benefactor for the Rossi Road extension because that is the first leg of what the city's general plan designates as I believe it's the north-south bypass. County of Monterey would be the lead on the Rossi Road extension. And again, I refer to that for people who are just tuning in. The Rossi Road extension is the creation of an alternate, primarily commercial ingress and egress to the South Baranda commercial and industrial area where the transfer station and a number of other businesses reside. And so the city would be a benefactor because that would begin their bypass project, and they would be able to receive some outside funding and assistance through the county and the authority and potentially the business community. So the county would be the lead on that because it is still, even though it's city sphere of influence, this is county jurisdiction, and therefore they would be the lead agency on the design and build of that extension. And of course, a co-funder as well. And then the final stakeholder really is the South Boronda community and their businesses. This has been a long discussed item relative to expansion of the use of that commercial industrial area to avoid all of the garbage related traffic driving through the Boronda community by providing an alternative ingress and egress from Davis Road to Boronda or Madison Lane. And again, that as proposed by the city in 2015, there's a potential through some type of an assessment structure that those businesses could also be co-funders as well as benefactors for that project. Next slide, please. So what our ask is, what we're really looking for in terms of support from all the agencies. First, and I've had these discussions, I think we talked a little bit about it, Chris, and I've talked with Supervisor Phillips as well, is to get the county at the table to begin the initial discussions on the actual development of a plan to do the Rossi extension. The county had done a fair amount of preliminary work back in 2002. That obviously needs to be refreshed. It's because it's 18 years old. But to get some commitment from county RMA and public works staff to at least begin the preliminary discussions. And the second piece obviously is the funding and MOU preparation for how that project would be funded, as well as timelines. And for the county, the city of Salinas and our agency to agree, because I think this is one of the things we talked about at the last meeting. If we can all collaboratively agree that this is going to be a part of the project, we can actually cut some corners in terms of timeline by including that road extension in the project description for CEQA. So that as we're doing CEQA for the actual Madison Lane project, we're also including the CEQA for the road extension, and that may be a benefit to everybody in terms of moving the project along a little quicker. We would ask that the city share any initial work product that they have. Back in 2015, Gary Peterson, the then public works director for the city, had presented to the board during one of our retreats that, the city wanted to support us going to Madison Lane. And at that time, the city agreed to be the lead agency in developing that funding MOU with the county. And while that MOU never came to fruition, it was our understanding that there was some initial work product. And so if some work has been done in drafting that would again be very helpful in keeping the project or speeding the project up. So we'd be asking that the city share that product with working group between the county and the authority and the city, and the county, excuse me. I think this has been a request from the city as well in terms of their terms for rescinding their notice. And of course, we welcome actually having staff be assigned specifically to participate in some of the appropriate aspects of project development. So we look forward to that and would like to see those staff formally directed to participate. We'd also like the city to provide us contacts for all of their past and present ALSL marketplace developers so that we can begin to contact those folks and have some initial there's purchase interest. That's been a long-standing request, and I think now's the time that we like to see the city honor that and move it forward. And I think the last one is we would like to see the city rescind their notice of intent to withdraw. And I'll explain one of my significant reasonings for supporting that from the staff's perspective, and Rob can provide his own perspective as well. Next slide, please. This is the last slide, but I just want to express a concern that I have right now. And that is, this agency has worked very, very hard since the day it was formed because we started in debt with a very large debt or a small debt in 1997 that was increased in 2002 to fund a lot of activities and mandates and environmental compliance issues that existed on those landfills when they were turned over to the authority. And we worked very hard through all those years to improve the agency's financial position, our financial sustainability, our operations, and to do that as we are continually bombarded by new unfunded mandates. And this is just a snapshot of what the agency's done in terms of improving its bond ratings. In 2017, we had what I would refer to as a natural upgrade, meaning that there was no activities going on, there was no request. It was simply a periodic review by S&P on our status and our financial position, and we were granted a new upgrade in our S&P rating. AA minus is actually a very strong rating. AAA is the best, but we're working towards that. And my biggest fear at this point is, with this notice of intent to withdraw continuing to linger, and it is now approaching, it's over a year and a half, that we are due for another review. And we may actually already be on a watch list with S&P because of the disclosures we had to make regarding the notice. I'm just concerned that if this is not resolved soon, we could see a downgrade in our rating, and that is a very strong possibility that could happen. So those are my updates and expression of staff and my sort of concerns we have right now moving forward. But we're ready to go. We have a appraiser lined up, have engineers ready that can come in and begin to look at the properties and provide us with firm quotes. We don't think that that work will be extremely expensive, probably less than $50,000 for assessments on both Sun Street and Madison. But we really need Republic Services at the table. They've been very busy with some transition issues. So anything the city can do to support them and encourage them to get here, we really need them first to get at the table so we can start talking about who's paying for what and what types of first steps we're going to be taking. And I think that's the most important thing to get us started right now.
Okay.
Well, thank you, Patrick, for that update on things. Let's start with a board discussion from Vice President De La Rosa. Anything for us, Gloria?
I heard. I'm hearing your concerns, Patrick, and I will go back with this information you just gave. I want to hear from Rob, but during your conversations with the mayor and the city manager, this was never brought up on the letter of intent or anything like that, or what the city was going to do? No.
So I brought it up. Do you want me to go ahead and give an update on that then? And it relates to the next item 5, but which is what I was going to talk about it under. But since it was brought up now, I'll make mention of it. So at last Friday's meeting between the City of Salinas city manager, mayor, Patrick, Chris, and myself, a number of subjects were discussed, and one of them did include the request of
Withdraw.
the way I phrased it is, think about what are the conditions that the city of Salinas would like to see in order to feel comfortable with rescinding that notice of intent to withdraw. So
Okay.
I asked them to think about it, and that will be a topic of discussion at tomorrow's meeting that we have at 11 o'clock with those same members present. So that's really,
okay. That's good.
yeah.
That's
So
good.
I brought it up, and I know that, you know, the kind of the way I look at it is we need to address it sooner rather than later, but we needed
Yeah.
to make some progress in our meetings. And now that we've made some progress on things, now I think it's the appropriate time to bring it up.
Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's, any other comments, Gloria?
No, just that, and that let me see, I wrote something here, that on that, and the appraisal, and so Steve, you're saying that, you know, you want us to, you know, have Steve come to the table from Republic. So I have to talk to him about something. I will call Steve myself, and is that okay, Patrick? And just try to see, you know, hey, what's going on?
And I'm not trying to pressure Steve, because we have been talking on the phone briefly, but and he's busy. He's transitioned to a new role as a regional. I have a new general manager who's starting up here, so he's been going through training, a bid process in Los Banos, and so I'm going to be respectful of the fact that he needs a little time just because he's going through this transition.
Okay.
I can't start our work, and I don't think the board's going to be comfortable authorizing me to start spending money. And so some of that, you know, we're at the starting line, but until I can really, you know, get Steve committed in time to work through some of these things, we'd be spending money without full commitment yet. And I think he may, and I'm sure he has other ideas.
Okay, so what's our timeline? So then, you know, I don't want to, like you said, I want to be respectful, but there must be a timeline, like we need him to sit down with you by when?
As soon as he can, because the timeline that I shared the board and the EC last month, you know, is it structured around us being out of here in 2 years. And that was assuming we started our work on May 29th. So the sooner the better, because for every month that we delay getting started, that's another month on the back end of getting out of here. So.
And Gloria, this also relates to what the city of Salinas wants, right? Because we know that the city of Salinas wants us to move fast, and we're trying to move fast, but it's one of those scenarios where we can only go as fast as what our partners and people that have vested interest in this can do. So yeah, we need to have some serious discussions with Republic as soon as possible.
Okay. All right, I'll talk to Steve.
Okay, thank you. Yes, all right, let's go to Chris. Any comments, questions on this item, Chris?
No comments, just appreciate everybody continuing to work towards a common goal.
Yeah, thank you. And I don't think I have any other major comments. I mean, the big thing that I wanted to mention really was related to that notice of intent to withdraw. I'm looking forward to the meeting that we have tomorrow to make some more progress and talk about the moving parts that were listed under Patrick's report there, and getting more into the details of those. So I think, I don't think I have any other comments at this point in time. So let's go to, has any public comment come in on this item?
No public comment.
Okay, and this is on for provide input and direction. Patrick, is there any other areas that you need input or direction on?
No, not at this point. Thank you.
All right, so we'll go to item number 5, which is an update on the City of Salinas 1-year notice of intent to withdraw from the joint powers agreement with the Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority. And I think I have pretty much covered that. So Gloria or Chris, do you have any questions or comments
No.
on what I said or on this item?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, President. No.
And has any public comment come in on this item?
No, we have no public comment.
Okay. I'm gonna kind of jump ahead and just make a comment. If anyone is streaming this right now, before we go to closed session, I will be asking if there's any public comment on the closed session item, and you can submit those as a reminder by emailing comment@svswa.org. But before we do that, if you could bring up the future agenda items, please. And while you're bringing that up, I'll kind of make mention to our general counsel, Roy Santos, that clearly we look to you to be staying up to date on the Brown Act rules. And I mean, my plan continues to be doing these meetings in this format for at least the next month or so. I mean, luckily in July, we have our meeting recess, and you know, who knows what will happen in August, both
Yeah.
from a state policy standpoint on whether or not we can continue to do these meetings virtually. So we just look to you, Roy, to monitor that. I would say that at this point in time, as board president, my preference would be that for the August EC meeting that we do it in the same format. And then that also gives us time to figure out our regular board meeting for August and kind of figure things out. And as with everything that we're doing in our lives, it's taking it one day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
True.
President Cullen, so far, just as a little aside, there hasn't been a change from the governor. So the electronic and virtual meetings are still proper and in compliance with the Brown Act. And I'll definitely let Patrick and staff know, and the EC board if something changes anytime soon. But so far, the exemptions for the Brown Act allowing for the virtual meetings are still in play.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So on the future agenda items, Patrick, is there any comments that you want to make on these agenda items?
Just one. This just again, it's the end of the year, so you'll see a lot of amendments and extensions of agreements preparing us for the new fiscal year. But just a reminder for everybody, the board at last month's meeting did direct that we go back to 6 o'clock start time for the June board meeting. EC meetings will remain at 4 o'clock as they always have, though via Zoom now in August. But just a reminder, it is now going to be 6 o'clock for our June board meeting instead of 4.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Okay. Gloria, any comments on the view ahead schedule?
No.
Chris, any comments? Okay, hearing none. Then closed session. So we're going to go into closed session on one item related to, oh, sorry, let me read this through here. Related to real property negotiations concerning the possible terms and conditions of acquisition, lease, exchange, or sale of number 1, Salinas Valley Solid Waste Authority property, APNs 003-051-086 and 003-051-087, located at 135 through 139 Sun Street in Salinas, California. And number 2, Republic Services property, APNs 261-051-007, located at 1120 Madison Lane, Salinas, California. Before we go into closed session, has any public comment come in on this closed session item?
No, we do not have any.
Okay, and so at this point in time, we will adjourn to closed session. We will come reconvene. So anyone who's streaming online, stay tuned, and we will reconvene once done with closed session.
And it will be Ray and myself.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we are back in open session. There we go. We have Gloria. So we have the 3 EC board members back in open session now, and we have nothing to report out of closed session. So at this point in time, we stand adjourned at 4:54 p.m. and thank you everyone for attending.
Okay, be safe. Take care.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.